What are some spooky, scary facts about your world?
The taint, also known as the anomaly, the pathogen, the contagion, the undermining, the virulent ink, dead water, screaming oil, apophysis rot, anti-dream, liquid song, the annihilation signal, the eater of days, filth, drink, nemesis, the black parade, quantum condensation, Chernobyl lights, Titan's bile, the devouring, the howling dark, the impurity, the apple of Eden, the key, the dance at the end of the world, reason's demise, the anthem of anathema, the sound of static, oblivion's echoes, fractal malignancy, worm fire, night laughter, the ace of ruin, and 1,000 other names in 1,000 different tongues. It is an infection of reality itself, a horrible lie weaving its tendrils through all the layers of the earth, from stone and water to animals and plants, to the thoughts and memories of mankind. It warps and twists everything it touches, infusing it with the unreality of the outside, the dreaming whispers of the horrible gods that dwell beyond the borders of our little bubble of reality. To this day, the borders of reality still hold. The pillars of creation still buttress the inner-outer reaches. Earth remains inside, and the outside remains without. But there are cracks, so very many cracks in our reality's protective shell. We have not been kind to the Earth over the ages. Scars from the age of Atlantis and wounds pieced during the world wars let tendrils of paradox flow up into our world and spread the taint. The laws of reality twist within the screaming oil. Space is warped and time is bent. The laws of biology, of physics, of logic no longer apply. Things that cannot, should not exist in our world are given form and shape by the light of the worm fire. There are many out there who do their best to seal up the wounds on creation, to drain away the screaming oil and dissipate the killing fog. But these attempts are never entirely perfect. There's always some aspect of the taint that slips through, even if it only manifests in stories and memories, a viral tale that eventually manifests again as an infection in the minds of its carriers. And the Earth is old, too old, older than we recall. We have had to start over so many times now, ages of our world, drowned under dead water, an impossible sea beneath a stratosphere of tentacles. And then the Deus Ex Machina rumbles to life, the wheel of ages turns, the Akashic records burn, and we are brought back to step one, again and again, doomed to repeat the steps that have to lead to our ends so many times before. All this has happened before.
The illusion of privacy. There's been a huge uproar over organizations such as Google and Facebook violating user privacy, treating their users as mere products they can sell to advertisers, organizations, and groups with ill intent. Facebook and Google are rank amateurs when it comes to some of the organizations out there. I'm not just talking about governments who have been in the data collection game for so long and who have forced tech companies to build back doors into their systems in the name of national security or combating terrorism, though those are most certainly a thing. I'm talking about groups far older and far more powerful. The Knights Templar, the Hashashin, the Green Dragon, the Parliament of Shadows, the Illuminati. These organizations have been watching humanity for centuries. They have mastered the art of data collection. They have files and blackmail material on everyone. The Templars infiltrate religious organizations and police departments across the world and have access to records dating back to the Crusades. The cameras of the world are the Templars' eyes and ears. The Green Dragon has ties to organized crime, from the lowest drug runner to dirty senators. They know your vices. They know your crimes. They know every time you skirted the law because of the infrastructure they built. They are masters of the gray area of the law, and every time you play the game, you're dancing with the dragon. The Hashashin are tied to schools, universities, and other academic groups. They are the scholars who peer into the darkness, trying to find a light. They control what you learn, what is taught across the globe. They have shaped society for millennia by censoring topics while encouraging others. The freedom of academia balances on the blade of the assassin's knife. The Illuminati, youngest of the organizations, exploded onto the scene with the growth of democracy and capitalism. They are the enlightened, the philosopher kings, the ones who actually cast the deciding vote. The political establishment of the world rests in the Illuminati's hands. Governments rise and fall based on their desires. Hell, they even slapped their symbol on the American greenback, taunting the other organizations. Every time you deal with the government, with banks, with the institutions of the modern state, you're dealing with the Illuminati. And the Parlement, the government of the things that go bump in the night. They were playing the Illuminati's game before the Illuminati was even founded. Kings and queens shook hands with monsters, and ministers signed treaties with bogeymen. They are the old guard, the shadow behind the man. But that does not mean they are outdated. No, they have adapted to the modern era. Any shadow can hide the eyes and ears of the Parliament. Any strange sound you hear at night could be a monster crawling its way through your house, on the lookout for what makes you tick. They control the media, the news you read and consume. Ever wonder why everything is so sensationalist, tied into fear, paranoia, conflict with your neighbors? The Parliament survives off fear. They mold you, shape your worldview to be terrified of the other. And they exploit that fear for power. You are just a pawn in the secret war. Everything you say and do is being tracked by a dozen different organizations, recorded and stored away to be used as ammunition. Privacy has never existed.
Missing persons. In the United States, nearly 2,300 people go missing every day. Every week, hundreds of people vanish from the New York subway alone. Many of them turn up later, no worse for wear, but the sheer volume of mysterious disappearances has overwhelmed our human ability to process them. We just don't think about it. We refuse to believe it when the statistics are placed in front of us. It's a horrifying truth. The Veil Treaty infiltrated various census agencies centuries ago, when they were first being set up at the dawn of the modern era. These organizations have subsequently underreported humanity's population by between 5% and 10%. Why? Well, it helps hide the full extent of the slaughter brought about by the supernatural world. Of a newly turned werewolf going berserk and killing a dozen in a park, or a vampire coven draining the life from a handful of victims every month, or an angry mage throwing a fireball into a packed mall. And yet, humanity remains completely unaware. The statistics are buried, and the media doesn't report on the deluge of cases anymore. Not unless something sufficiently unique to break through the din. The families of the lost think they're alone, not realizing just how many other people are in the same circumstance they are. People just refuse to confront the fact that even in our modern society, there's a constant danger, and not from robbers and muggers and other petty criminals. No, there are things out there who prey upon humans, who have spent millennia hunting us, perfecting their predatory arts. Vampires, werewolves, demons, wicked fairies, bogeymen, dark mages, and cults of the mad. We like to think we have tamed the world, but there's a part of us that knows we haven't. That there's more out there, just lying under the surface. It's why we shy away from the shadow-cloaked alleyway, the strange path in the forest, that house on the edge of town that is only talked about in whispers. But there's always those who defy their instincts, whose curiosity overwhelms their common sense. Most of the time, they're fine. But sometimes they are taken. Another missing person. Another statistic. I mean, why do you think independent municipal censuses turn out higher population numbers than the national or regional ones? Because the national and regional censuses have better methods? No, it's that the Veil's agents can't be bothered to infiltrate the census boards of every last town and county, so those governments typically end up with more reliable data. A little glimpse of the truth beneath all the lies.
In my low fantasy setting exists the spiritual world. It has been described by scholars as an infinitely deep pond. On the surface, it is a slightly warped reflection on our own world, looking very similar but populated only by shadows of those who populate our own. It is seen in dreams, and some of strong mind may be able to travel here in trances. Deeper, on the edge of vision, is the realm of the gods. None who travel here can return. Only the dead and gods know for sure, but through revelation this place can also be understood. Beyond this we enter the infinite abyss of the spiritual realm. Of this nothing is known other than it is where demons come from. Demon is the nebulous term for the malignant spiritual entities capable of interacting with our own world. There have been many theories on how these beings came to be. Perhaps they were once dark gods now diminished in power. Maybe they are beings who independently evolved, or they could be reflections of our own darkest deeds and thoughts horrifically reflected. But the grim truth is that no knows, and there is no way we can know.
The worst creature you can possibly run into is a demon called Bones. Bones is a 12-foot-tall, malformed skeleton man with 4 arms and clawed finger bones, all held together by thin strands of muscle and sinew. He has a twin brother, alternate form, called Spook, who is invisible. Like all demons, Bones and Spook are paracausal. They can manifest in places with no way in, or vanish from places with no exit. Bones cannot be perceived through the sense of touch and hearing, i.e., if he digs his claws into you, you won't feel a thing, nor will you hear him sneak up behind you, or when he stalks the building you're in. He runs away or hides immediately when you look at him directly, most of time, meaning he will not run if observed in a mirror, reflection. Bones cannot be killed and likes to play with his food. He has a very faint smell of sulfurous, rotting flesh. He prefers crawling on walls and ceilings, and hiding his thin form behind slender objects and in tight spaces. He hides in the dark. Spook cannot be perceived through sight or smell. One might be walking alone at night, only to hear footsteps behind them and feel breathing on the back of their neck, only to turn and see nobody there. Just a set of skeletal footprints matching their own. They may hear Spook's unearthly growls and moans, in a dark room feel him grab their legs from under the bed, but will always find nothing when they look except scratches on the walls and floor. Yet again, he will flee when looked at directly, most of the time. Most of the time does not include cases when both brothers show up at once. In this case, your direct gaze will simply hold them at bay, not cause them to flee, so try not to blink or turn away. Invariably, one will be behind you, and one will be in front.